Hi, everyone. We're going to go over the concept tracker for critical thinking. This video is just for the concept tracker. I will not walk you through critical thinking because you're supposed to do that on your own. So this is just a general model for what we're supposed to be doing. So let's jump in. So the concept tracker is basically, you should read this because it's asking you to help me help you. One of the big issues that teachers have with students and students have with teachers is we want to help, but we don't know how. Students need help, but don't know what they need help with. Basically, we're not speaking the same language. This assignment, it's a form of note taking that is geared towards bridging that gap. What you don't know is the information the teacher's supposed to share, but we don't know what you don't know, and you don't know how to say that you don't know it unless there's some sort of process in place to fill, to point out where those holes are. That's where this comes in. You should read the background information as usual, but it's a note-taking tool. A bunch of the things that I want to see you surface is number one, how smart you actually are. We all bring in knowledge into the every room that we're in, and the weird thing is that we're so intimidated by a lot of different issues. We have so many different emotions that we're unwilling to tap into that knowledge. This assignment is asking you directly, hey, what do you know about this? Um, I want to see your understanding of the text or lecture. You're going to watch a video and you're going to take notes on it. If you have no notes, then that implies that you didn't understand anything at all, right? Which, if you don't understand anything, my answer is going to be go watch that shit again. The connections you're making between the text and your goal as a person, not to mention as a student. So once you're done with the first two steps, you are then going to try to bridge the gaps between what you knew and the new information that you have. You're going to try to make these connections and you're going to show me your connections. If you don't show me your connections, I'm going to assume you didn't make any, or I'm going to assume you just didn't do the assignment. And both of those are actually pretty bad. If you didn't make any connections, this is where, again, where you're going to show it is wherever you didn't make a connection, like if you got a bridge here and there's a gap in there, you should be asking a question. You're going to ask a question where you wrote this in your first part of the notes and you wrote this in your second part of the notes, but in your third, they didn't actually connect. You have a question to be answered. So ask the question is why doesn't A and why doesn't B connect to each other? And I'll take a look at it and I'll, point out like, oh yeah, that A is completely off topic or something like that. But again, this is to show where your gaps of knowledge are. Um, Here's the process. Download the concept tracker. Number two, please save a copy. We're going to be using the concept trackers throughout the semester. You'll just change the name of it, but yeah. Number three, in the first column, write what you think the concept is, what you know about it, what you've heard. Basically tap into your experience, everything that you know. If you've never seen the concept before, guess at what you think it's going to be about. There are no wrong answers here. So because I want to model the activity, but I can't do the critical thinking thing. You're going to watch a video right over here. I decided to do something, just find an infographic, a random one online that I could learn from. So yeah, what I thought it was something on design. So it's an infographic on how to design things. So I wrote all these different points. It's about audience, and like this is my understanding of design. It's about audience. It's about keeping it simple, keeping it colorful, but not too busy, not overwhelming. Choose a font that's friendly, make a format that is easily openable. Make sure you connect with something the audience or reader is interested in. Basically, it's very much reader focused or audience focused. So what I then did was I took a look at this infographic and I started looking at this, and just the title of it alone, 28 design terms small business marketers should know. That is not what I thought it was going to be. So, but it's not like I'm going to quit on it. I'm going to assume that I can learn something from it. So I broke it down. And I actually did a video of this earlier where I broke it down. But I broke it down to try to understand it, just taking notes on it. The first thing that I wrote is way wrong about the concept. This is about terminology of design. Basically, I broke it down to it's just telling you the names of things. And it says design terms meaning terminology, small businesses should know. And I broke it down. I pointed out the different things that they point out. They point out the process and give me terminology of the process, which I didn't know. Basically, it's from a page on the internet to actually like having a functional website, really. And then it breaks down the look and all these different terms in the look. Bleeds, grid, white space, padding, I didn't know, gradient. And then it goes into the letters, basically the kinds of letters that you find, that, you know, not even the kinds of letters that you find. Notice I'm still using the terms that I thought it was going to be. It's just terminology about lettering. Very weird for me. But I still took notes, assuming that there was going to be something I could learn, right? So after I did those notes, let me go back to my picture here. So look, it shows the process, the look, the letters. After I took those notes, I then go and I try to bridge what I knew with what I just learned. This is key. This is where education actually happens. So I bridged from what I knew to what I learned. And I noticed when I did this, my initial reaction is to just go, I didn't like, this isn't what I wanted, and to quit on it, right? But going through this process, I actually kind of learned some stuff, which is great. And stuff that I thought that does connect to my original ideas about this topic. Remember, I said that it was all about the audience, really, in my original thing. In my notes, it doesn't say much about the audience, but when I try to make connections, some issues do connect, especially with that section called the look. It talks about things like the bleed, right? Where things are bleeding off the page. That's actually very confusing for some people, right? For some audiences. So really knowing the term of, oh, this is bleeding off the page, or knowing the terms for white space and padding and margins. These are all about how things are laying out on the page. And I was worried about keeping it simple. That's my initial thoughts and ideas. Guess what? I now have terminology to say, hey, you need more white space here, or hey, you need less white space here. You need a little bit more distance between the object, the picture, and the margin of the page. I've learned how to say things more. And then the letters is an interesting thing because it has a bunch of different names for spacing. There's spacing between lines, and there's actually spacing between the literal letters. So if I'm talking about overwhelming the reader, like having everything cramped can be too much on their eyesight, right? So I'm still learning, even though this is way different from what I thought it was going to be. There's still connections to be made. And then And like I said, I did this already. And then I went in and I looked at what I started with, the new ideas, and what you call it, and the bridges between them. But there are obviously gaps in that, because I thought I was going to learn how to make layout. This is basically just giving me terminology, and that terminology I could use. Like, I now know the names for the things that I'm paying attention to, but I obviously still have questions, like how to actually do design. I know the names for it, but I still don't know how to do it. What program should I use? Again, that's not actually in this when I thought it was going to be. What fonts are suggested for general purposes? It brought up lettering, but it didn't actually recommend anything. Are there standard designs? Meaning, are there templates that I could use? Like, especially with the layout, I don't know those things. So I go through this process, and now I have very specific questions. So if I'm working with the teacher, I can ask these questions to get the help that I want. If I'm doing a search on the internet, I can literally type in some of these questions and I'll get what I'm looking for. That's kind of the purpose of this assignment. It's to help guide you through new information, show where you're bridging, where things are working, where things aren't, and asking direct questions that bridge the gap that still exists. So that's what I got for y'all. That was way shorter the second time around when I wasn't actually doing the assignment as I was speaking, but I think the other one was better, but this is what I got. Thank you. I will see y'all later. Bye.